Have you ever wondered if it's possible to play classical music on the ukulele? And it absolutely is. The music sounds incredible on the instrument, and I've had a lot of fun for many years now interpreting classical music, arranging repertoire. There's such a vast amount of wonderful repertoire in the classical idiom that can be translated to the ukulele. And at Ukulele Corner, a big part of the curriculum that we study is technique, phrasing, and interpretation of music from the classical style. What I find is if you have a background and understand some of these elements of how the music comes together and how you can apply these techniques to the instrument, you're able to play all types of music. It's just a really great fundamental building block in your technique. And so let's look at some of the things that we use, the techniques and some of the style that comes through when you play classical music on the ukulele. And I just played a little excerpt there of a piece called LAGRIMA by Francisco Tárrega. He was a wonderful composer for the classical guitar from the 19th century. And really, his music is some of the most celebrated music on the guitar, but it works beautifully on the ukulele. And so we play fingerstyle technique to play a lot of classical music. We use a lot of separation between the fingers, thumb, index, middle, and ring finger. And this particular piece that I was playing, you might have noticed that there's separation of parts. And a lot of music has these building blocks. There's harmony and melody. If you start understanding some of the techniques that are used in classical music, you can combine these. You can have accompaniment played while you're playing melody. And sometimes this is in the jazz idiom, it's called chord melody playing. It's really the essence of what fingerstyle playing is. So what I was doing there, I was using my thumb to play the low string. I was doing a basic bass line that was moving around. But now I can get other parts going by using my fingers to play the higher strings. So the first step to really start understanding how to use the technique, this sort of technique to play classical music on the ukulele, is getting the thumb and fingers to work independently of each other. And there are different things that we do with the fingers. Sometimes we play repeated notes on the same string using alternation, let's say the index and middle. Then other times we might play across the strings and do what's called arpeggiation. In this particular piece, I was playing between the high string and the second string back and forth. And I was doing that independently of what the thumb was doing, playing this bass line that moves. So if I play the parts separately, there's this melody that just simply moves up the high string from the 4th fret to the 5th to the 7th to the 2nd. We're in the key of A here. I'm using the low G tuning. That allows me to have this nice low bass note that moves, and then I'm adding the second string on the upbeats. It's a waltz rhythm. It's in 3/4, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So hear how it's polyphonic. There's not just one voice in the music. There's a bass line moving. It actually moves in the same direction. It's moving right along with the melody, but there's clear separation. And then we have this accompaniment note. They sometimes call this a pedal tone. We keep playing the same pitch again and again in between the notes. And so when you start developing the nuance of using your right hand on the ukulele, doing this fingerstyle technique, you can control which notes you want to emphasize and which ones you might bring into the background. And that's a really big step into getting into this style of playing, is something we call phrasing. And you might I might start soft and I might get a little bit louder, then dip down at the end. And then when it repeats, that might be like an echo. So I might do something like this. Listen to the second string. I'm going to try to play it pretty light. I'm going to try to put a little bit more weight into the melody. I'm whispering with this note, but this note, I'm really pressing down into the string a little bit more. So our melody it sings above the rest of the part. I'm playing lightly with my thumb as well. I'm using sort of the flush part of the thumb. If I wanted to emphasize the thumb, I might use more of my nail. Really dig in more. But in this case, I'm pulling it back. So that's something you'll notice about classical music. It really trains your fingers to do very specific things. And this really allows the fingerstyle playing to have a separation of parts. So there really is a melody and accompaniment that are different from each other. And as I mentioned, phrasing, maybe the first time I'll play this, I'm going to play it and I'm going to start at about a medium volume or normal volume. I'm going to get a little bit louder, but when I play it the second time, I'm going to play it even softer. It's like an echo. Louder, coming down a little bit, and I can echo here. Notice I also move my hand a little bit over the fingerboard. Something we do a lot when we're playing classical music is we explore different colors and textures in the music. And so this is sometimes called DOLCE. It's a sweeter sound, or they also use the word TASTO. Then if I wanted to get bright, maybe if I wanted to do the opposite, I might decide, well, I'm going to actually play that second phrase is a much stronger phrase. I'm going to start the first one soft. You can start to make these decisions in how you interpret the music. I'm going to move my right hand back to the bridge and listen how bright the sound gets. They call this Ponticello. Very different sound, right? Almost, I tried to be almost a little bit harsh there with the tone. And so now you're going to have a bigger dynamic range and tonal range in your playing by getting control of where your fingers play the strings. And I find it's really fun. Do you find sometimes if you're performing, you get a little bit nervous? One of my ways to get deep into the music, and I forget all about all those things about being maybe uncomfortable playing in front of other people. For me, a great thing has always been I get lost in the phrasing of the music and the tone, and you focus all on that, and all the other things for me, it seems to disappear, and I get just really lost in the music. You'll find there's so much room for expression in your playing, and for such a small, tiny little instrument, there's a big range of sound that you can get. And so classical music is going to help you to start to bring that out in your playing. Then let's say if you go to playing a folk song that you're playing, you can use the same concepts. Maybe you're playing Amazing Grace. There's still a very clear melody there. There's still accompaniment. There could be a bass line. You can use dynamics to create textures and sound. You can have phrasing be a part of the music. These concepts aren't only used in classical music, but we study them very intensely in classical music. Then all of a sudden it transforms all of the music you play. You won't look at playing songs in the same way. They'll have a lot more depth to them. So check out some of the curriculum that we have at Ukulele Corner, and you'll see we have a whole volume of classical music that's graded in 8 grades. We've built our curriculum based on 20 units, and they're libraries that have music in different genres, from Hawaiian, contemporary, jazz, and lots of classical music. I keep adding, so I love arranging, so there's a lot of music that I keep adding to the repertoire in the website. But see if you can use some of these basic techniques. Just play a scale and see if you can start to bring dynamics in. See if you can alternate index to middle. See if you can play it with your thumb independently of the fingers. Arpeggiation across the strings. That sweet sound, that brighter sound. Starting soft and getting louder, or doing the reverse. All these elements are big parts of classical music, and I hope you enjoy trying to apply them to your playing on the ukulele. And let me know your thoughts in the comments below.